So anyway, Ray got up and he just felt inspired to look into this from a medical academia type of view here, as we compare it and lean it against the guidance that comes through, that we channel. And it's really amazingly consistent.
Well, yeah, it is, but it's also different than it was several decades ago, what they used to call a breakdown.
Right.
Nervous, we'll talk about that, but nervous breakdown used to be a name for a lot of things, and now there's many, many different things that go into a breakdown, or what could be considered before as a nervous breakdown.
They just put it all into one bucket and called it a nervous breakdown.
Right.
And they didn't break it down like the guides did in this session. Ray, why don't you go ahead with the comments that came in today on this post.
Two very good comments.
That are amazing.
One from Kathy and one from Joy.
Yeah, so start with the top one.
Top one is Kathy says, I love this. Too often we think that we have to be all things to all people, and we put our own well-being in jeopardy trying to please everybody. We must listen to our guidance and our bodies and allow ourselves some grace and compassion to keep our systems working in optimal fashion. That was a great comment.
That was.
And
that was spot on.
Right. And that's why people who are people pleasers, who, like she said, put their other people's feelings and well-being ahead of your own.
Well, I'm going to bring something up. Let me say something right
Sure.
for a minute. It turns out, the more, after writing Guided, I couldn't help but fall into, what certain statistics are, and, where I fell into certain slots in the statistics about what happens when you come up in an abusive childhood, like I did, like many of you have. Here's a statistic I thought was really interesting. They say that people who grew up abused and challenged in their early life turn out to be perfectionists. You can never do good enough. You're like a cat. You know how a cat obsesses over something? I mean, it really does. And I love cats. But I look at them and I go, God, I can relate to that. It's obsessive, really.
So they're always cleaning themselves and
Yep.
washing their face.
And to perfection.
Right.
So it's like you're always really hard on yourself, because everybody they may not have been hard on you, but they made your life hard. Okay? I can relate to this because I guess I am a perfectionist. I mean, I am. And you know what though? So is Ray. But
Yeah.
for a different reason. Ray is a perfectionist for a different reason. But this thing with child abuse, feeling like you're having a breakdown, and this pressure we put ourselves under makes you more critical of yourself. I'm not critical of other people. It's interesting because I don't do that. In fact, I'm really compassionate with other people. I feel what they feel. Okay, like you, again, many of you are empaths. You feel what they feel.
But you can't go there.
But you've got to find your boundaries, is what I'm trying to say. So Ray, please go ahead.
Okay, Joy's comment is a little longer. Still very
But
good.
really good.
Really good. Linda, I channeled my spirit guides using as a universal channel.
Right. To get the answer on this.
And asked the question.
Right.
If I had had any breakdowns. Yeah, I was surprised to receive information that I had many breakdowns in my life. They indicated the first one occurred when I was 9 years old, the next one when I was 27, and the following one when I was 40. All the breakdowns came from suppressing and compromising all of my thoughts and desires.
That's exactly what it says in the insight today.
Right. I never realized that I was in a breakdown because I continued to work and function seemingly as well as other people did. However, now looking back, much of my life I gave away and suffered. Now's the time that I heal. I learned that my desires are just as valuable as those that belong to others, and I am as valuable as those I chose to compromise for. I feel that it was not just a compromise because I was the only one giving up on what I wanted to do or think. My idea of compromise now is that both or everybody works together to come up with a solution that's good for all of you.
What's so interesting about what Joy wrote is she had 3 of them, and she went on with her life seamlessly, what seemed to be seamlessly. But I will tell you this, I know that you can't, because I've experienced it, okay? I talk about it in Guided. I was in the gym one day and they told me, Linda, you had a breakdown. I'm like, what? I had a breakdown? You know, I didn't go cuckoo or anything.
Well, that's what most people associated with nervous breakdowns back in the 50s and the 60s.
So great, that's your stage. Go ahead and talk about that.
Yeah, I mean, anytime somebody was acting weird,
yeah,
people would look at them and say, oh, well, she's on the verge of a nervous breakdown, or, you know, he had a nervous breakdown. You know, he's not always like that.
They're not all there, you know.
Right.
Something like that. It was some kind of a stigma they put on it.
Right. But see, the problem is it was lumped into one thing. No matter how they were acting, it was a nervous breakdown because they didn't have a pill for each type of action like they do now.
Oh,
a
man.
different pill.
That's criminal.
Okay, right. All they could do in those days was send you to the nervous hospital and give you shocks. Okay? And that was kind of the cure for everything. Like your mother. She couldn't go
I know.
get help from anywhere.
They would have gotten radical with her.
Yeah.
They would have.
The men in the white coats.
That's true. And that would scare anybody. You
Right.
know?
Hee hee ha ha to the funny farm.
The nervous hospital.
Right. Yeah, it's like Billy Bob would say.
So what do we have?
Okay, so there's many different. Let me just read this. This comes from actually the Australian Health Department. Many different signs that indicate a person might be experiencing a nervous breakdown. While not a medical term, people use this expression when referring to people who are being overwhelmed by mental health issues.
You're going to condense this,
right? Any type of mental health issue.
Right.
That's kind of how they applied it.
It's the catch-all.
It's the catch-all. It's like the bushel basket. However, people who feel they are having a nervous breakdown have the following feelings and symptoms. First thing on the top of the list, they feel isolated. They feel isolated and disinterested in the company of family, friends, and they withdraw from daily activities, normal activities. First thing. Second thing is they feel unable to concentrate.
Okay,
There's 3 main things.
Let me say this one thing. Okay, while Ray's talking about the breakdown that you're already in.
Right.
The one I was referring to is the one you didn't know you had. That you, upon reflection, like Joy channeled her spirit guides, and they gave her the actual ages where she had these breakdowns. So that's after it happened, and you don't see it until after. If you're already in it, you cannot see it. You won't see it. That's where using your journal and writing in part 3, that something's not right, okay? That you're feeling like people are taking advantage of you, like you're compromising something, okay? And then when you start writing about your compromises, it's not just a compromise that you're going to find. You're going to find a whole flood of them, all right? That's finally getting so overwhelming that you can't not see it. It's time to see it, okay? That's what this does. It flushes it out. It takes it out of here, and it puts it on these pages so that once it's there, you've got the proof, and you can always go back and look back and review what happened, what you wrote, and just go, oh boy, you know, I won't let that back into my life. So, Ray, go ahead.
So the symptoms of a breakdown, or a nervous breakdown, or any kind of breakdown, are twofold. They're emotional and they're physical. Now, there's 3 emotional ones, which we talked about. They feel isolated and they withdraw. They're unable to concentrate at work or on daily simple tasks. And they get real moody. They get depressed or low. They have the blues. You know, they get depressed.
You feel like you're not included.
They feel burnt out. They get emotional outbursts like anger or fear.
You're topped off.
Right, and they feel helpless about helping themselves. But the physical parts are more visible. Yeah, insomnia.
More
First one.
obvious.
Right. First one at the top of the list. Insomnia. You have a lot on your mind and you find it difficult to sleep, or you sleep is disrupted all the time. And then muscle pain. A lot of muscle pain, especially sore, stiff muscles in your neck and back.
That's because you're holding resistance.
Right. And then exhaustion. Difficulty sleeping.
Because it takes a lot of energy to do all that stuff that you're resisting. By the end of the day, oh my God.
And all that stress is interrupting your sleep.
Right.
And then you get exhausted. And that causes anxiety and makes you feel more exhausted.
God, the anxiety, everyone can identify the anxiety, when you've got it.
Anxiety is worrying about your future.
And it's just taking and learning to manage your energy and really tighten up your diet. I mean, everything. Cut the sugar, cut the caffeine, cut the alcohol, cut it out, and let your body and let yourself recover from what's been going on with you.
And if it's hard to pinpoint something...
That's when you catch it before it happens.
Yeah, if it's hard to pinpoint something, try it for a week. Like cut out alcohol or cut out alcohol and caffeine for a week and see how quickly your mood changes.
You'll calm down. You might think that something like that helps you calm down, helps you relax, but it really doesn't. No. Over the long run, it has all kinds of effects on you physically, like what Ray was talking about. And it feels like it's taking the edge off, but really if you do it, you'll see that it adds an edge. It makes you fire off more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So what do we have there, Ray?
Kathy, Kimberly, Vanessa, Nancy, Joy.
Yeah, this thing with are you having a breakdown is it's more likely that you've had one or are having one or will have one than you think. It's not, and it's also not the stigma that they've made it into from decades ago, all right?
Right. What I see in people I observe and people I know, it's pretty common.
Actually, it really is. Yeah. Yeah. When you break it down, you see it. You know what to watch for. When you start feeling that edge on you, it's time to back off. And the people around you, by the way, your family and the people at work, or your friends, they won't notice that maybe your friends will. If you have a really tight friend, like a soulmate friend, then they'll notice it. They'll talk to you about it. You guys will work together on trying to work through it. Okay, if you're at all spiritual at all, okay, and it's not that even if they didn't notice it, it would be maybe because they don't think they should butt in, but a soulmate would talk to you about it, somebody tight.
One thing that
your guides will talk to you about it. Right. What happened with Joy tonight when she said, I talked to my guides. She channeled her guides with her talking board, Ask the Universal Channel, and got this communication through. They will tell you, actually, your guides, they will tell you straight. They will get right into the heart of the matter, skip all the, niceties and, trying to protect your ego and not put you in a spot where you feel like you have to resist them or, you don't want to see it and face it right now. Your guides don't care about that. They don't worry about you being able to handle it. Of course you can. Okay? They know you can.
They wouldn't give you anything they knew you couldn't
They
handle.
know you can. In fact, you need to know. So that's another reason why consulting with your guides is premium.
Okay, so you've got these surface level things that are very observable from the fact that you feel isolated, you are unable to concentrate, and you're moody from the emotional side. And then you can't sleep from the physical side. You can't sleep. You're exhausted all the time, and you have muscle pain. But if you let that stuff go, it can affect your headaches, migraines, give you migraines, gives you dizzy spells.
You don't make a course correction.
Right. Make a course correction. You can have gastrointestinal issues of all kinds. You can get fast heartbeat. It leads to panic attacks where you feel you can't breathe, or you're choking off the air, you can't breathe, and
We
sweats.
can all, okay,
Cold sweats and warm sweats.
okay, so every one of us can relate to having these symptoms at some point in our life.
Right.
We can absolutely relate to it. We were heading the wrong way.
But you didn't connect the two.
No,
The reason I'm having that is because I'm having a breakdown.
right. And you know what? It means you're under too much stress. Nobody should have to go through that. That's too much.
It's just like what they said in today's Insight. It's like when your computer gets overloaded. I mean, people work on their computer, and they don't ever bother to clean the cache. They don't, use a program to clean
That's
out
true.
and get it back to its original speed and things like that. And boy, once they do that and they see the difference, they go, "Oh my God, it was ready to die."
I know. It really is amazing. Yeah. The CPU was at 100.
Yeah, why is it overheating all the time?
That's my thing. I get all this stuff open, and I just, and it reflects me.
Multitasking.
The massive multitasking, and I've got to have all these things open and working because they interact with each other and they work together.
Yeah.
So
You
it's
walk
not.
over and look at my computer. I've got 4 or 6 tabs open.
I
You've
think-
got 35 or 40 open.
I think he's just slacking over there.
I'm not working. She thinks I'm not working.
I know. So this is this is the price. If we don't learn how to, balance this stuff out, then we're going to get ourselves in a situation. When that happened to me, I'll just talk about my situation. And we're looking for your questions. Do we have?
No questions yet. Kimberly Williams joined us. Hi, Kimberly.
So we're looking for your questions about, are you having a breakdown? And the things that Ray read off and the things that they talked about, the guides talked about in the Insight today, about what are those different things. If you look at them all, I mean, you guys could say, well, man, I have one of those every week. I mean, seriously, there's times when chaos, everything just hits all at once. It seems like it hits in threes, and it just gets to you. So it could also happen when you're just out and out unhappy in a relationship. One thing that I learned, and I talked about it in the How It Works part of this Insight, I talked about how my lesson was let me just read it exactly how I wrote it, to never allow an unhealthy situation to persist in my life. Just don't let it persist. It might be there. It might show up. It might, how things will change, and, people change and all kinds of stuff changes. And if it gets to the point where it's persistent and it's interrupting my life, I'm not going to let it. I'm not going to keep trying to push it off and say, I'm too busy. I don't have time to deal with this. I'm going to deal with it. I'm going to get it out of my life. I'm going to move through that and work optimally, okay? I want to be at optimum performance. I don't want to be burdened down with, this unexpected thing coming at me over here. I can't stand that. So
But most people don't respond like that. Most people
you
think,
need to. Okay,
That's
you need
right.
to. I'm telling you that as we move forward, what's going to happen is we're moving into changes. We're moving into economic conditions that's going to make what we're going through today in these times look easy.
Seem like the good old days.
Yeah, man, it's going to look easy. So you've got to get a hold of yourself. You've got to bring yourself back into this balance I'm talking about. This world and the world that you came from, who you are. You've got to work on this part of you and bring it back into play, all right? It's really never been more important than to do that now. You are living in two worlds. You've just been kind of postponing this one and tolerating this one. And that's not the way you didn't come here to live like that. That's why you struggle.
So why do people, when like I said, you're different. You won't tolerate the situation to go on, whatever it is. Why do most people think that if I just let it alone, it'll get better?
Guilt. You feel responsible for the situation. You brought that person into the company. You brought that person into your life. Your part in it. You're still punishing yourself for doing that. You don't want it. It's like making a play in the stock market. The stock goes down, and then you go, and that's when it really starts to get painful. You go, well, maybe what I'm told to do is to double down now,
when the price is low.
When the price is low, so that when it goes back up, I'm going to make it all back plus more. So it's the same thing. You're counting, like Ray said. You're counting on it getting better. It'll just take care of itself. And maybe it will even be better than it would have been if you got yourself involved, all right? But when it persists, the part I talk about is when it persists. You guys, you're on the short end of the stick. You can't put it off and have this thing interrupting you and taking you down this potential road of eventually just crashing and burning because of that situation. What do we have, Ray?
Kimberly says, hey, I think I'm having a breakdown. I can't seem to get out of this tired sadness. Why do I feel like this a lot? There's nothing bad going on in her life right now. I should be happy all the time. I've been trying to meditate, but it seems like every time I start, I get interrupted by something or someone.
Okay, is that
Yeah.
Okay, let's let her guides talk to her about that, Ray. Nobody knows you better than your spirit guides and angels.
That's true.
Kimberly. And you know that now from being in the group, in the Ask the Universal Channel secret Facebook group that you're in. But your guides are going to talk to you about this because, after all, they're there all the time, and here they go.
Kimberly, don't worry about these interruptions when meditating. You are not trying to reach a state where your mind is totally clear of thoughts. You may have to change the place where you meditate so as not to be interrupted by other people. The goal of meditating is to be able to control your thoughts and not empty your mind. If you continue to feel this sadness, we want you to change your routine. Eliminate one thing at a time from your routine and see what happens. If you eliminate something and you still feel sad, that was the wrong thing. Eliminate something else. Keep eliminating until you don't feel sad anymore.
Okay, so something you're doing, what they're really leading you to, is something you're doing is causing it could be hormonal imbalance, it could be just some emotional imbalance, it could be something out there that's just, it's like fingernails on a chalkboard for you, where you can't do that. You shouldn't put yourself in that spot. You shouldn't make yourself have to be around that type of situation or people or whatever it is. You have to start making a note of what's going on. And always, Kimberly, part 3, always write down what you're realizing, what you're working on, what project this is. You call it a project, and what you're working on. Write it in part 3, and the continuing pages as you experience more things and try this and then but don't eliminate more than one thing at one time, or you'll never identify what it is.
See, she's got, according to our list that we talked about, she's got one out of each list. She's got tired sadness. That's how she explained it. So she's exhausted, and she's in the moody category, the sadness.
Right. Right.
So
Right.
what is it that you're doing that's causing one or the other or both?
Right. It might be that one thing is causing both. It might be that three things are causing both. Okay? So you just have to start eliminating things one at a time.
Which one happened first, too? Did you get exhausted first? Did the tiredness come in first, and then you got sad about it?
That's right.
Or did you get sad and then you got tired?
Yeah. And you might find out that it's something that's a spiritual thing too. I know that for me, many times, I had the experience where I mean, I knew what I knew and I loved what I was learning, and the connection to my guides was endless. It was my world, okay, living in these two worlds at the same time. And nobody noticed it. That's how unconscious people are. To me, that was the saddest thing. It was the isolation that Ray talked about. Yeah, I had my guides. I always had the answers and solutions to what I needed to know when I needed to know it. But I was definitely isolated. I was excluded.
See, when people are isolated, they don't think about asking their guides. They don't know who to ask.
That's all I had. But I had it. You know, I had a good thing going, and I always have had this connection. So there is a time, though. I've had certain experiences in my dreams that went on for weeks on end with my experiences with my spirit guides, where they were showing me certain things on how to manage my energy. Okay, when I'm going out of body and stuff like that. And they pick up where they left off from the night before and take me to the next step of the learning process, and then from that to the next night. I mean, it was amazing. And there was a point where I kind of lost my appetite for being in this world. I mean, it was depressing. It made me sad. Because I know, see, here's what it is. I miss where I come from. I still do. I will always miss where I come from because I remember that. I remember where I came from. And as you guys learn and you spiritually evolve, you're going to have this longing that comes through that makes you feel this. You can't help but feel this because this is why having this connection, work through the process, Kimberly. If that's what it is, you're longing to be where you know that everything is just, you can be who you are. In fact, it's the only thing you can be. And this world, it competes with you. It challenges you. It insults you. It's always doing something that makes it hard for this part of you to be here, okay? But you've got to learn how to do this. After all, I just have to say this. You have to learn how to master this, because that's what you came here to do. If you are not fully engaged, fully connected, then the life you came here to live, you're going to go through another lifetime and probably miss it.
Okay, Kimberly had an observation here. She thinks that it might be a little bit like that because she works all night and sleeps all day. Now, look back at a lot of times, in my opinion, things that would trigger you being exhausted or sad would be something external, like you're not eating properly or you're not sleeping properly.
That's right. But once you eliminate those things, you find out what it is and you identify it, and then you deal with it, okay? And then if you find out that something like, for me, it was real obvious that it was a longing for me when I had that feeling, all right? That's happened several times in my life. And the guides, many times what they did is they pulled away from me until I grounded myself back in this world, and I was no longer wanting to just lean into this and maybe out of this. I mean, seriously, okay? So it's an awesome thing to have, but it's about balancing our energy, you guys. We came here to master this. And then, when we master this, There is nothing can stop you. It's all I can say. You are so one with the whole thing. You can't miss. You are so present and you are so capable. All right. But your thing about sleeping in the daytime and working at night, that is a tough gig, Kim.
Yeah.
They had studies on what that does to your clock, your internal clock.
Biorhythms.
Yeah, that's a tough one.
It is a tough one.
Yeah.
Another thing is, would you suggest that they go back, like in the journal, where you go back to the first time you noticed it and what was going on then? When was the first time you felt exhausted? When was the first time you started getting sad?
Yeah.
And ask your guides to help you go back to find that time and what made you exhausted at that point. What made you sad?
You really do need to identify that. Yeah, you need to retrace your steps. Kimberly, you are so good at this. I know you can do it, and I know you will do it. Part 3 of the journal, okay? But this thing about you working at night and sleeping in the daytime, that's a tough one. I don't care what anyone says. Oh, I'm a night person. No, you're a night person when you're relaxing. You're not a night person when you're at work. And then you come home and your biorhythms, what Ray was talking about, is not lining up with your life. Yeah.
I think the way you train your body earlier on in your life kind of sticks with you. I mean, it's like if you work all day and slept all night, and then when you're older you got a job where you worked all night and slept all day, that's a misfit.
Yeah.
That doesn't go together. That piece of the puzzle doesn't fit in there. I mean, I was a musician, so I played till 2 o'clock in the morning. I get home at 3, 4, 4:30 maybe. But I'm still like that. I still subconsciously.
He does. He is still like that.
I can stay up late at night and work and be clear, but I don't like to get up in the morning.
Right. Those things do stay with you. So just pay attention to it. And if you need to change that, Kimberly, if that's one of the things you need to change to test the water, so to speak, then change it. Tell the person you're working for that, it's working, it's having an effect on you. You need a different schedule.
Right.
Yeah, don't be afraid to do that. I know you're not afraid to do that. All right.
Yeah, you don't need to be sad because of your work schedule.
Right.
Okay. There we go. I'm sad quite often through the years, but the exhaustion started when she started working at night. There you go.
Yep. You've got to change it. They've got to change that, your hours. Period.
Right. Yeah, that's where compromise comes in.
By the way, that's what we're going to be talking about tomorrow, Wednesday, is compromise. It's about, I'll talk about it in a minute, but it flows right into tomorrow. So, sleep on this thing. Write it in your journal, Kimberly, and then come tomorrow, all right? Yeah, right here, Facebook Live, 6 p.m.
Yeah, this whole thing with all of a sudden working different hours, it'll take a while, but pretty soon it will affect your health where you will not be able to go to work.
Yeah, you don't even go down. It's like, are you having a breakdown? Yes.
Yeah.
Having one, and I'm stopping it. Okay, so that's what you're going to do. You're gonna belly up to the bar and face this thing. Okay, what do we have as far as questions go?
No questions.
No questions, you guys? Come on, you guys.
Yeah, she says okay. She's going to do it. We know you're going to do it.
Bring those questions. We've got about another 10 minutes to take your questions, so bring them on. Don't be shy. And, we've all faced stuff, you guys, or we're facing them right now, like what Kimberly talked about. She's facing it right now. It's the energy of coming on Tuesday and on Wednesday when we're here that gives Kimberly, and Thursdays in her Ask the Universal channel sessions with the other students, that give Kimberly the community of caring that gets her out of these jams, okay? And I know that's true with you, Kimberly. And that's great. So the rest of you are missing out if you don't ask your questions, okay? Don't be shy.
Okay, so this is today's insight. One
Yeah.
paragraph I found kind of scary.
Uh-oh.
Right? Some people don't realize they're headed for a breakdown if they continue the way they are. There's even a phrase for it. He or she is on the verge of a breakdown. Well, that's scary in itself. How is it that you can't see it when other people can? Because you can't see you're on the verge of a breakdown. It's because you don't think it's even possible.
Right.
Or you can't see it when you're in it,
Right.
because to you, your life is the same as it always has been.
I know. That isn't saying much.
And then one day you just blow a fuse.
Yeah, if you're heading for a breakdown. By the way, have you noticed all the people breaking down? I don't even want to bring it up, but in the news in the last week, it's been one thing after the other, and this is the extreme of breakdown. Okay, I mean really off the chart breakdown stuff. I don't expect any of you have to worry about something like that, but it does take its toll. And people around you, they'll look at you like they always like to look at it like it's happening to someone else.
Right. What's happening on the other side of the world doesn't affect me.
Right.
Well,
So they'll notice it in you, and you will notice it in them. You know, they're beginning to act strange. Their personalities changed. They're getting ready to snap, or it looks like they're heading for a breakdown, you know, that type of thing. So if you can spot it in somebody else, and you're conscious, and you write these things down that don't agree with you in your life, that have changed, that, you know, that are now affecting your mental, physical, or spiritual health, then you're going to see it. You won't see it. I said before, you don't see it when you're in it. And most people don't see it as they're leading up to it. I didn't. I just was in a situation where it's like I held my head and I said, God, I got to get through this. Another day, another week, I got to get through it. I got to get through it. And I have this determination that got me through it. It pulled me through it. But man, oh man, you know, enough is enough. You got to know when it's enough of that. And you've got to start working with your universe and trusting your guides and, you know, going that way so that you can begin to, when you trust yourself enough to do that, you are beginning to come back. You are beginning to come back into the picture. You are then united. You are one with this. And you are so much healthier and more powerful than you've ever been. That's the key, you guys. This is not supposed to be a struggle.